started. Town of Acton, Maine, school budget special town meeting warrant to Robert Anderson, a constable in the town of Acton. Greetings. In the name of the state of Maine, you are hereby requested to notify and warn the inhabitants of said town of Acton qualified to vote in town affairs of a special town meeting described in this warrant. To the voters of the town of Acton, you are hereby notified and warned that a special town meeting will be held at the Acton Elementary School, Milton Mills Road, on April 10, 2012, at 7 p.m. in the evening to act on the following Acton School warrant articles. Article 1, to choose a moderator for said meeting.
I nominate Richard Nass.
Seconded.
Richard Nass has been nominated and seconded. Are there any other nominations for moderator? Okay, as required by law, moderator is voted on by secret ballot. A minimum of 3 votes must be cast. Anyone that wants to vote for moderator, please come forward. Mr. Nass, you've been elected moderator. Come forward and take your oath. I, Richard Nass, do swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof. I, Richard Nass, do swear that I will faithfully discharge, to the best of my ability, the duties incumbent upon me as moderator of this meeting, according to the Constitution and laws of the state. Very good. That's mine. They all have to finish up there.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. So as we usually do with the meetings in this town, we'll conduct this meeting according to the guidelines and rules set up on the Maine Moderator's Manual. So unless there's objection, that's going to be kind of our guiding light today. And I'm a little bit overwhelmed today because Bob Powers is here. He does this in Waterboro. He's been doing it for years, I think, right? So we've got somebody that knows how to do this a lot better than I do. But anyway, Maine Moderator's Manual is a very simple set of rules. There's not a lot of guidance there, so we'll just make sure everybody has their say tonight. We'll do it one at a time. If you want to talk, you're going to go to the microphone to do it. We're going to get motions on the microphone. If somebody is tired of the talk and wants to end the discussion of that particular article, I don't want to hear it shouted from the audience because that makes everybody else angry. So if you feel like you want to make the motion to end the discussion, you need to come to the mic to do that. You may or may not be in line to do that. So if we follow those kinds of rules, I guess we'll do pretty well tonight. So we have some folks here who are not residents of Acton, but may or may not need to talk. And as we've done in the past, I'm going to identify the folks who are here. And unless there's objection, we'll assume that we, the town, the citizens of Acton, have approved their ability to talk at this meeting and to make presentations. So with us tonight is our Superintendent Betsy St. Cyr. Betsy, there you go, thank you. Our interim superintendent, Bob Powers. Our principal, Trish Halliday. Special Education Director, Joy Carl Kiley. Hi, Joy. Finance Director, Carlene Doyle. Carlene. Jennifer Ruth, Town Clerk. And Mike Corey, our IT Director. So unless there's objection, we'll assume that they can speak. They may, probably most will not, but they can. Okay, we've been asked to make an announcement. This is, I think, suggested being sponsored by the PTG. This is an announcement to Acton residents. We need your help to celebrate Earth Day. We are asking for volunteers to go out and help clean up our roadsides on Saturday, April 21st. This is a week from this Saturday. If at all possible, separate cans and bottles for recycling, bring trash and sort recyclables to the transfer station by 2:30. If you do not have the means to take the trash to the transfer station, call 636-3205. I have no idea whose phone number that is. And someone will pick up the trash bags for you. Anyone interested in helping the Odyssey of the Mind should use one of the clink bags from the school for their recyclables and return the bags filled to Hannaford. So connect with your neighbors, take pride in your town, help make your roads clean. If possible, take pictures of you and your friends, showing that working together, we can make a difference. Bring the pictures to the school. We would like to show slides on the cable channel if we get enough pictures. Okay, we're going to start with Article 2. Yes.
Jeanette Burris.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeanette.
Before we start, I wonder if Mr. Powers could explain some of the budget
Yes.
to go along here.
Jeanette had asked me to do this, and so I've already forgotten to say. So, Bob, I think the school committee has arranged for Bob to make a presentation on the budget, which is going to be reasonably short.
Thank you. The budget that is before you tonight has evolved over several months and has undergone numerous changes as deadlines have arrived, more data has become available, difficult decisions have been made, and so forth. Changes were made even after the school committee adopted a budget on March 13th. On March 20th, for example, the school committee voted to revise the budget that they adopted on the 13th because it was discovered that an item was included in the budget in two different places. When the Warrant Finance Committee was making its final recommendations on March 27th, the school committee even recommended two other significant reductions in expenditures. One of these came about when it was determined that by making teacher assignment adjustments for next year, the previously anticipated teaching position could be eliminated. The other reduction resulted when the school committee made the decision to remove an administrative stipend position. The bottom line is that the budget that's before you tonight has been developed by the school staff and the school committee with input from the warrant committee. The net result is a realistic budget that provides funds for operating Acton's elementary school, it provides funds for tuitioning high school students to Sanford High School, and it provides funds for educating a few students with special needs who require out-of-district placements. This budget basically represents a continuation of existing programs or attempts to primarily restore or partially restore a few services that have been reduced in recent years. In short, this budget contains no frills, and yet it will provide adequate educational programs for Acton's youth. Articles 2 through 12 are outlined in this little booklet that you may have picked up. These articles are basically proposed expenditures. Article 4 is really a non-article for us because it's used only by communities that operate high schools. Article 11 has no figures in it because Acton no longer has any school yet. Articles 13, 14, and 15 are required legally worded articles that legitimatize what you do with Articles 2 through 12. Articles 16 and 17 essentially authorize the school committee to deal with any state or federal funds or grants that the school system may have or may receive. Article 18 authorizes the school committee to grant the money that the school collects from students for lunches back into the school nutrition program. I lost a page or something. There we go. Article 19 is a new article this year, and it technically is not part of the FY13 budget. It became obvious during the budget deliberations that fuel prices were just undeterminable. So the school committee decided that it would be a good idea to establish a sort of contingency fund from the 2011-2012 fund balance. The money that goes into this fuel stabilization fund can be used only for fuel for the school. If you follow the warrant committee's recommendations, which the school committee endorses, and actually, in some cases, recommended, the slide that I'm about to show you summarizes all of the proposed expenditures and the anticipated receipts that will help finance them. Could you show that first slide, please? And I want to emphasize that the school committee and the warrant committee both recommend the articles that reflect these recommendations. Look at this number here, the $5,255,409 figure. Those are the proposed gross expenditures that this budget recommends. The $497,591 is the anticipated receipts that the school committee recommends. So that the net budget, that is the amount that you get when you take the gross expenditures and deduct the anticipated receipts, is $4,757,818. The next slide is provided for comparison purposes. So that you can see in this column here, those are the receipts that the school committee anticipates receiving. And those total $497,591. And you can also see that we've gone back there a couple of years to show how those compare with other years. Throughout the budget development process, the school committee, the staff, and the warrant committee attempted to develop a budget that meets the student needs of Acton, while at the same time holds the line for the taxpayers. The information that I just went over with you does a pretty good job of doing that. The school committee intends to lessen even further the net amount that the taxpayers will have to pay by pledging to move forward $100,000 from the 2010-2011 fund balance before the selectmen do their thing when they set the tax rate. This next slide that I'm going to show you shows what the actual expenditures, revenues, and net budget will look like if you adopt the warrant committee's recommendations and the school committee brings forward the $100,000 from the fund balance. So all of these numbers at the top are the same, add up to the same $5,225,490. The difference is in this number here, 497,591 is now increased to 597,591 because of that $100,000 that the school committee recommends be brought forward. And if you go to the next slide, Mike, you can see the comparisons over the past few years. These are those revenues, and you can see again, this is the major change right here, that $100,000. The next slide will show some comparisons over the past few years. I think this is really significant. These are the gross proposed expenditures, anticipated revenues, and the total net amount that you will be raising. You'll see that that really represents minus 0.23% over what he did in 2012. It's 3.38% less than you did in 2011. And it's 1.27% less than you did in 2010. When you go back to 2009 and 2008, it's obviously higher numbers, but you'll notice in those days you were getting substantially more revenue. You get $941,000 back in 2008, $625,000 in 2009. So I think that basically represents what is before you tonight. And I just want to conclude by saying, as kind of an outsider who won't have to implement this budget and who won't have to pay for it, I can stand back and with a clear conscience say, in these challenging economic and educational times, this is a good budget, and I'm proud that I played a small part in developing it. I encourage you to support your youth and your taxpayers by adopting the school committees and the warrant committee's recommendations as I've outlined for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. We'll now proceed with this group of articles that Bob identified, Article 2 through 12, authorizing expenditures in cost center categories. Article 2, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for regular instruction. The school committee recommends $2,754,991. Warrant Finance Committee recommends $2,714,641. What's your pleasure, Jeanette?
The school committee recommends, but the warrant and finance committee recommends $2,714,641.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt what I read is the warrant and finance committee's recommendation.
That's correct.
Okay, $2,714,641 for Article 2. Are there any questions or comments on Article 2?
The decrease is due to the regular instruction line, reassignment of teachers, which meant we really did not need a new kindergarten teacher. And so that reduced the amount, $40,350 was not needed. We have 30 kindergartens coming, I understand, this new class, pretty big.
Other comments on Article 2 or questions? Seeing none, the motion on Article 2 is to adopt the warrant and finance committee's recommendation of $2,714,641. All those in favor of the motion, please hold up your red cards. Hands down, those opposed. Article 2 passes as recommended by the Warrant and Finance Committee. Article 3, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for special education. School committee recommends $1,028,486. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends $1,028,486. Jeanette.
Yep, school committee recommends $1,028,486.
So that's your motion. You need to make a motion.
Oh,
I
I'm sorry,
move.
I make a motion.
Okay. To adopt
And then the article was written,
the school committee's recommendation.
because the article was written.
Well, we have, the article doesn't include the amount here, so you need to
Oh,
move the school committee's recommendation, I think is what you're...
$1,028,486.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's on Article 3, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the school committee's recommendation. Are there questions or comments on Article 3? See none, the motion on Article 3 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation, $1,028,486. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your red cards. Thank you. Hands down. Those opposed. Article 3 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 4, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for career and technical education. There is no dollars recommended, but we need to go through each of these articles even though there's zeros. I think it's, Bob, that's essentially what we're doing here. Jeanette, want to make a motion?
Make a motion that the article is written, the school committee recommends the article is written, $0.
Okay, the motion on Article 4, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the school committee's recommendation, which is, in this case is $0. Are there any comments or questions on Article 4? Seeing none, the motion on Article 4 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Thank you. Hands down. Those opposed? Article 4 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 5, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for other instruction. The school committee recommends $42,277. Warrant Finance Committee recommends $42,277.
Yes, I'll make the motion to accept the school committee recommendation.
It's been moved, and is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded on Article 5 to adopt the school committee's recommendation. Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion on Article 5 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Thank you. Hands down. Those opposed? Article 5 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 6, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for student and staff support. The School Committee recommends $309,037. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends $309,037. Mary,
I'll make a motion to accept the school committee recommendations.
is there a second? Second. It's been moved and seconded to adopt the school committee's recommendation on Article 6. Are there questions or comments?
Comment being that, in case people don't understand, this is a guidance, nurse, library, IT, improvement and construction.
Thank you. Other comments or questions on Article 6? The motion on Article 6 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your red cards. Thank you. Hands down. Those opposed? Article 6 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 7. See what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for system administration. School committee recommends $216,361. Warrant Finance Committee recommends $209,961. Mary.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept the warrant and finance recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded on Article 7 to adopt the Warrant and Finance Committee's recommendation, $209,961.
Second.
Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion on Article 7 is to adopt the Warrant and Finance Committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your red cards. Take your hands down. Those opposed? Article 7 passes as recommended by the Warrant and Finance Committee. Article 8, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for school administration. School committee recommends $150,146. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends $150,146. Mary?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the school committee recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded on Article 8 to adopt the school committee's recommendation. Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion on Article 8 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your red cards. Take your hands down. Those opposed? Article 8 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 9, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for transportation and buses. School committee recommends $249,440. Warrant Finance Committee recommends $249,440. Mary?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the school committee recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded on Article 9 to adopt the school committee's recommendation. Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion on Article 9 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Keep your hands down. Those opposed? Article 9 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 10, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for facilities maintenance. School committee recommends $419,557. Warrant Finance Committee recommends $419,557, and with 4 yes votes and 1 abstention. Mary?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the school committee recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded on Article 10 to adopt the school committee's recommendation. Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion on Article 10 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Take your hands down. Those opposed? Article 10 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 11, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for debt service and other commitments. School committee recommends 0. Warrant Finance Committee recommends 0. Mary?
I'd like to make the motion to accept the school committee recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded on Article 11 to adopt the school committee's recommendation. Are there questions or comments?
Maybe next year we don't need this one.
I was...
I think you have to carry them for 2 years.
So the motion on Article 11 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your red cards. Thank you. Hands down. Those opposed. Article 11 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 12, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for all other expenditures. School committee recommends $131,864. Warrant and Finance Committee recommends $131,864. Mary?
Make a motion to accept the school committee recommendations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded on Article 12 to adopt the school committee recommendations. Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion on Article 12 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Thank you. Hands down those opposed. Article 12 passes as recommended by the school committee. Okay, so now we move to a different group of articles. Article 13 and 14 raise funds for the proposed school budget. Article 13, I'm going to read just the article. The explanation is not part of the article. I'm going to read the article. Article 13, to see what sum the municipality will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. It's recommended $3,829,669. To see what sum the municipality will raise as the municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15688. The recommended amount, $3,397,078. School committee recommends to appropriate $3,829,669 and raise $3,397,078 as the municipality's contribution. Warrant Finance Committee recommends appropriate $3,829,669 and raise $3,397,078 as the municipality's contribution. Mary.
I'll make a motion to accept the school committee recommendation.
Second.
Moved and seconded on Article 13 to adopt the school committee's recommendation. Are there questions or comments about this? Seeing none, the motion on Article 13 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Thank you. Hands down. Those opposed? Article 13 is adopted as recommended by the school committee. Okay, Article 14 requires a written ballot as we've traditionally done in recent years here. I'm going to read the article. The ballots that you were given as you came in, the little white ballot with the yes and no block on it, is what we'll use to vote. So I'm going to read it. We're going to get the motions made, have discussion if anybody wants to, and then vote it. And the clerk will collect the ballots up front here. And when you do come, hang on, Bob, just one more bit of explanation. When you do come up, bring your red card with you. Bob, you have a comment you need to make before we get into Article 14?
Because of the action that you've taken on Articles 2 through 12, you now need to make some adjustments in the numbers that are printed in your warrant.
On Article 14?
On Article 14. So if you want to...
We can't. I think we're going to have, Bob, this is a printed warrant, so we're going to have to do that by amendment, I think. Okay? Okay, so why don't we read the article, as everybody understood it to be in the published warrant. We'll then accept a motion to amend from Mary, probably. We'll get the numbers for Bob, and then we'll have discussion about that and vote it if everybody's amenable to do that. So Article 14. To see what sum the municipality will raise and appropriate in addition to local funds. The recommended amount is $1,407,490. That exceeds the state essential programs and services allocation model by $1,322,496, as required to fund the budget recommended by the school committee. The school committee recommends $1,407,490 for the additional local funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $1,322,496. The essential programs and services allocation model does not fully support all the costs of a K-12 program. These funds support programming not included in the essential programs and services model. Okay, so now let's go with a motion. Let me finish the recommendations here first. So the school committee recommends on this $1,407,490. The Warrant Finance Committee recommends $1,360,470.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the warrant and finance recommendation.
The motion on Article 14 is to adopt the Warrant and Finance Committee's recommendation. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Do we need amendments at this point? Okay.
Technically, I'm not sure you need an amendment But I'll give you the explanation, and then you can decide.
Okay,
if you want.
Paul, are you okay with that?
I just wanted to correct the reading of the Warren Finance Committee recommendation. It's printed correctly here, but I believe you said 470 at the end, so just
Okay.
keep it all above board.
The school committee recommendation, at least as I read, is $1,407,490. Clear on that? Okay. So Bob, you're now going to explain,
Yeah.
tell me what you're going to explain.
Let me just read it, and then
Okay.
I'll plug in the revised numbers based on the information.
Okay.
On the
This
information.
is not an
that we have.
amendment.
No, and the main reason that these numbers change is because of that $100,000 that was brought forward.
Okay.
Okay, so where it says, to see what sum the municipality will raise and appropriate in additional local funds, recommend, where it's printed, $1,407,490, with all the adjustments that you made tonight, that would become $1,260,740.
Okay, but this
That
is not,
exceeds the state essential programs and services allocation model by, and what's printed is $1,322,496 is now $1,175,746. And that again represents the difference with the.
okay, so these are numbers in the article. It seems to me, you say we don't need to amend it.
It's probably appropriate to
Okay.
amend.
It looks to me like these are recommendations, they appear to be part of the article, so I think to make this right, we ought to amend them unless there's some controversy.
I think that's appropriate.
So, other folks want to speak on this? Paul? Okay, question?
Well, this number's changed because the school committee voted on this number, and then we did the deductions at the meeting.
That's the one.
Now, okay, now you're saying you want to put another 100,000 forward? Okay, so
That
that
includes the $100,000.
it does. It's only 40,000, it's 47,000 that the Warren Finance, there's only $47,000 difference, and that would be the 40,000 for the teacher. For the teacher and the 7,000 for the stipend. So if you want to put another $100,000 that you're going to put forward from your reserves, then you would have to amend that to be $1,260,740. Right. Okay. So I make a motion we amend by changing the number to $1,260,740.
So wait a minute, let's make sure we understand what we're doing here. So, we have a motion on the floor to adopt the school committee's recommendation. We're now moving an amendment.
Warren Finance Committee's recommendation.
Right.
And I'm making a motion to deduct the Warren Finance Committee's recommendation by $100,000.
Okay, so let me, so we're going to take it, so it's now $260,740, right?
So the new number would be $1,260,740.
Okay. I'm still troubled by the fact that we're changing the article itself we've changed the recommendation, but the article itself, this recommended amount, is what we're voting on, but the article itself needs to be amended too. I think that's what we started to do. So why don't we come back to those, make it part of this amendment, those two new numbers, okay? So give me, I think Bob gave me the two numbers. Yeah.
Okay, so I need to go back to the original article and make the change there?
Well, yeah, Bob suggested the number, see if you agree with those. Again, nods from Paul. So what I've got here is the first number recommended, which was $1.407490 million, is now $1,260,740.
Yes, correct.
And the second number down there is now $1,175,746.
Yeah.
That was going to change too.
The motion is to adopt the Warren Finance Committee's recommendation, which is now $1,260,740. Everybody in agreement with that?
I know you.
Question?
I know you're making an amendment,
Yeah.
but wasn't it already motion to accept the figure that was in the original? So
Yes.
let's deal with that first?
No, we're amending that. Then we're going to vote on the amendment, then we're going to vote on the motion.
Okay.
Okay? Paul, are you okay with these numbers?
Yeah, I think we're well due for some points of clarification here.
Okay.
What you see in your article is what the school committee originally came up with based on the budget negotiations. Sometime prior to when Warren Finance got together to make a recommendation, the school committee found the aforementioned additional reductions in the budget. So our recommendation is actually for that first number, which is really the only one that's voted upon, which was 1,407,490. The reductions for those two items that have already been talked about actually compute to, for that first number, 1,360,740. We now find that the school committee will be forwarding an additional $100,000 to offset taxes. So that reduces that number by that amount, which now makes it $1,260,740. The second number, which again is not being voted on, other than perhaps to modify the article, the modified version of this, okay, the current version, as it states in the article, is 1322496. With the two changes that were known at the time of the warrant finance meeting on the 27th, that would make that number 1,275,746. And the numbers that we're now talking about here for that would be 1,175,746. We're reducing it by the additional $100,000 that the school committee will be forwarding to offset taxes. So the two numbers that we are going for here are 1,260,740 and 1,175,746.
All right, I think we're all in agreement. Now, the second paragraph in the article also has the erroneous numbers, so I'm assuming your amendment is going to change those also.
Again, the 1,407,490 will become 1,260,740. And the 1,322,496 will become 1,175,746.
Okay, are we clear on the amendment now? We're focusing on these two paragraphs, which is really the article. The recommendation, which is what the motion is about, is the amount of money. It's the article that we just modified. So the amendment is up now. The motion is to amend. I think we've got a second on the amendment. So we moved in second to amend Article 14 to change the numbers as we've discussed in the last few minutes. Question?
Well, comments. First of all, we have one of the acting voters physically read the first two paragraphs, because there were numbers in there.
Sure.
Coming from the acting voter and being seconded.
Yeah.
And amended.
Okay, so Ted, why don't you read the articles as they now stand as amended?
To see what sum the municipality will raise and appropriate in additional local funds, recommended $1,307,490. That exceeds the state of Central
No,
program.
that's not the numbers we're looking at.
It's not taking, it's Article 14.
Yeah, the upper number, as I understand it, now reads $1,260,740.
Oh, because the other one wasn't taken off. So 1,000,000.
Sure, hang on just a minute.
267.40. Okay, and this one will be. And then this one will be the same as this one, 1,260. And then this one will be.
The second number is 175, not 275.
Second number is
Wait a minute, we have a discussion here without the moderator, hang on. All right, Ted, if you would read the two paragraphs
okay.
as they've been changed, and we'll then change the motion, We'll vote on the amended article, okay?
Okay, to see what sum the municipality will raise and appropriate in additional funds, recommended $1,260,740. That exceeds the estate's essential programs and services allocation model by recommend $1,175,746. The school committee recommends $1,260,740 for additional local funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state essential programs and service allocation model by $1,175,746. The essential program and service allocation model does not fully support all costs of the K through 12 program. These funds supporting the program not included in the essential programs and service model.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? We have a second. It's been moved and seconded. That's the amendment. Are there now questions or comments on the amended version? Okay, seeing none, we're going to vote on this amendment. All those in favor of... Secret ballot. Wait a minute now, we don't have two sets of ballots, so we're going to amend it first. So all those, we're going to do this by holding up the red cards. So all those in favor of the amendment, please hold up your red cards. Thank you. Hands down, those opposed. So Article 14 has been amended. Now we're going to do the secret ballot on the amended version of Article 14. So you need your white ballot, you need to mark yes or no. You need to bring your red cards up here. We have other comments? Mary?
I don't know, does the money amount still say $1,360,740?
No. No, that doesn't, that's not part of the article. That recommendation is not part of the article. This article is pretty confused because we've got two articles. So we tried to amend the article itself, okay? I think I'm comfortable with that unless somebody else is not. Paul?
I think I'm pending discussion of the actual article itself. So we've amended it and we're
We're now going to vote on the article itself. So if there's questions about that, Paul?
Okay. I will attempt to clarify what these numbers are. On Article 14, that first number is the gross budget minus the anticipated revenues, which have just been bumped by $100,000, which is why we're changing it, minus a figure that is published by the state, known as the State Adjusted Required Local Share. So the first two, the first one obviously is the gross budget, the second one is circumstantial somewhat, and the third one is written in stone from the state. That second number is the first number minus another state published figure, which is known as EDT 29, operating allocation difference. It comes from a spreadsheet that is off the state website. Anyway, that's where they come from.
Other comments or questions on the amended Article 14? Seeing none, let's white ballot. You need to mark yes or no. You need to bring it up front, put it in the box along with your red card. Everybody voted that wants to vote. The answer is yes. We'll take a break right now and count. 2 no. So Article 14 is adopted as amended. You know, we're still struggling with what this means here. Some of us, including myself, are still catching up with this. Article 15. We're now moving on to an article that summarizes the proposed school budget. Article 15, to see what sum the town of Acton will authorize the school committee to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2012, and ending June 30th, 2013, from the school administrative unit's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act. Non-state funded school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidies, and other receipts for the support of schools. School Committee recommends $5,302,159. Warrant Finance Committee recommends $5,255,409. And I will not read the explanation. Mary.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept the warrant and finance recommendations.
Second.
Moved and seconded on Article 15 to adopt the Warrant and Finance Committee's recommendation. Are there questions? Comments? Seeing none, motion on Article 15 is to adopt the Warrant and Finance Committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Raise your hands down. Those opposed. Article 15 passes as recommended by the Warrant and Finance Committee. Articles 16 through 18 authorize expenditures of grants and other receipts. Article 16, shall the school committee be authorized to expend such other sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school purposes, providing that such grants, programs, and other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. The school committee recommends adoption of the article. Warrant Finance Committee recommends adoption of the article. Mayor.
I'll make a motion to accept the school committee recommendations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Article 16 as recommended by the school committee. Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, motion on Article 16 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Thank you. Hands down. Those opposed. Article 16 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 17. See if the town of Acton will appropriate the receipts of certain federal and state grants and carry any previous balances for the following special revenue accounts. Title 1A, which is local entitlement. Title 2A, which is preschool. School committee recommends adoption of the article. Warrant Finance Committee recommends adoption of the article. Mary.
A motion to accept the school committee recommendations.
Second.
Moved and seconded to adopt Article 17 as recommended by the school committee. Are there questions or comments? Seeing none, the motion on Article 17 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your card. Thank you. Hands down. Those opposed. Article 17 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 18, to see if the town of Acton will vote to appropriate the following revenues, balances carried, and fund transfers to fund the school service budget in addition to amounts raised by taxation for food services and the school operating budget. School nutrition revenues are $65,000. The school committee recommends adoption of the article. Warrant Finance Committee recommends adoption of the article. Mary.
I motion to accept the school committee recommendations.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt Article 18 as recommended by the school committee. Are there questions? Seeing none, the motion on Article 18 is to adopt the school committee's recommendation. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Thank you. Hands down. Those opposed. Article 18 passes as recommended by the school committee. Article 19. Shall the Acton School Committee be authorized to establish a fuel cost stabilization fund under the authority of 20A MRSA Section 15008 to transfer up to $10,000 to that fund for unexpended fund balances at the end of the 2011-2012 fiscal year? Municipal officers recommend approve up to $10,000, and Warrant Finance Committee recommends to approve up to $10,000. Mary.
I'll make a motion to accept the warrant and finance recommendation.
Second.
It's It's been moved and seconded on Article 19 to adopt the Warrant and Finance Committee's recommendation. Are there questions? Seeing none, the motion on Article 19 is to adopt the motion as recommended by the Warrant and Finance Committee. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your cards. Thank you. Hands down, those opposed. Article 19 is adopted as recommended by the Warrant and Finance Committee. Okay, we got, before we adjourn tonight, we just check with the clerk, as far as you know. Okay, so a different thing is happening now. The clerk, when she started the meeting today, read the warrant for this meeting. What we've always done is just not adjourn finally. When we do this at night, we go and open the polls on Tuesday. We're still going to do that, but we're going to do it a little differently. On the recommendation of the school board's attorney, basically, we're going to shut this meeting down completely and open a new meeting on Tuesday. That doesn't mean a lot, except it's just some more paperwork. But I need to read the warrant for the next meeting, I guess, is what we got.
Mr. Moderator, can I?
Yes, Mary, I'm sorry.
Say something? I would like to thank Bob Harris for helping us through these rough times. He really helped us get through this budget. It was tough, and he was there the whole time, and we asked him to stay until he could present what he helped bring to us, and I'm glad he came. Thank you.
Well, I shuffled the paperwork out. I noticed that our teacher of the year has joined us. Since we both spent the day in Augusta together. Congratulations, Tracy, and welcome back home. Okay, so here's what happens on Tuesday.
Mr. Moderator,
Oops, I'm
just
sorry.
one thing, we'd like to welcome back Betsy St. Cyr, acting superintendent, who's been on an extended illness. And again, to Mr. Powers, I believe this is your third trip to fill in as superintendent. Thank you.
Okay, so Tuesday, new town meeting to the voters of Acton, who are hereby notified that a school budget validation referendum will be held at the Acton Town Hall, 35 H Road, the town of Acton, on Tuesday, April 17th, for the purposes of determining the following articles. 1, elect a moderator. 2, do you favor approving the town of Acton school budget for the upcoming school year that was adopted at the latest town meeting held April 10th, 2012. Article 3, shall the Acton School Committee be authorized to establish a fuel cost stabilization fund under the authority of Title 20A, MRSA 15008 to transfer up to $10,000 to that fund from unexpended fund balances at the end of the 2011-2012 fiscal year. The statutory, I won't read the statutory disclosure statement. The municipal officers have a recommendation to approve up to $10,000. The school committee recommends the same, and the Warrant Finance Committee recommends also approval. The voting on Article 2 and 3 shall be by secret ballot referendum. The poll shall be open immediately after the election of the moderator at 8 a.m. and close at 8 p.m. Registrar voters shall hold office hours while the polls are open to correct any errors in or change the name of address of the voting list, to accept registrations of any person eligible to vote, and to accept new enrollments. A person who is not registered as a voter may not vote in any election. Okay. Absentee ballots, thank you. So those people who want to vote by absentee ballots, they're going to be available to the Honorable Clerk tomorrow morning. At what time?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock tomorrow morning if you want to vote Tuesday's election by absentee. Remember, you don't need a reason anymore, just that's how you choose to vote. Okay, motion to adjourn. Second, we are adjourned. Thank you for attending.